it twice there. I had an internet glitch, I think. Anyways, I'm sorry I had to restart there. So I'm just going to give Jen a second behind the scenes. Hope you're all having a good start to your week. For those of you that are just joining me for the first time, I am doing Tuesdays this month, and I am doing different toning things. So last week we did legs, and today we are going to be working on arms and shoulders. So how to use your vibration plate, ideally, to improve these types of conditions. I see that I am live in Facebook land. So if you are joining me today, thank you for doing so. If you can see and hear me on the other end, just let me know. And what I'll do is I'll leave questions till to the end of the session for you guys to jump in and ask any questions specifically to upper body today is what I'm hoping for. So last week, what I'll do after today's session, if you're looking for last week's session, just go into the videos on either the VIP page or more regularly you'll see on the main Life Pro page as well as YouTube. So you're going to see that this tab is using, oh, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that it's giving me a microphone message here. And these are, of course, always recorded. So if you're watching these on a recorded basis, feel free to just always post a question. Tag me at Debbie with a Y, and I'd be happy to answer your questions after the fact if you weren't able to join me during the live. So I see I've got a few of you here. Thank you for joining me. There's a bit of a delay until this comes through. Sorry for the late start today. One second. Looks like I'm live on Facebook, so I'm just going to keep going here. So before we get into the moves, the theme of these sessions for this month are not necessarily easy, but I want to keep the number of exercises and the positions themselves simple. I would prefer that you get really good at doing a couple of key exercises to really just help stick with the consistency of doing them. Sometimes I find if we have too much going on and there's a whole bunch of elaborate exercise positions and we're not, necessarily doing those type of things on a regular basis, it can be really intimidating and shy us away from doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. If you are joining me today and you are using your machine for upper body, I'd love to hear your tips. I'm going to share a few of my own today, especially directed at new users. So if you're just starting on a vibration plate, today it's about being able, first of all, to get down on the ground. There certainly are ways to target upper body if the range of motion doesn't allow you to get down and back up. But today I wanted to just go over a couple of very simple things that are ultra important to minimizing, especially for my ladies, the head vibes, as I call it. And when you're using a vibration plate, just like when you're standing on it, many of you are looking for like, what's the best setting or what's the best moves? But what I really want to drive home in my sessions this year is you are always in control. And once you understand how to manipulate the different settings that you have, depending on the movement that you're using. Sorry, I thought I saw a comment pop up there. All of my sessions are in oscillating movement. Oscillating is the primary movement of vibration plate. It mimics how we walk. It feels the most natural, and it has the most ways to modify for intensity. So what I mean by intensity is how strong the vibration feels. Now, we often think of, it's just a level or it's just a program or it's just a speed, but we don't always put a lot of thought to how strong the speed feels. And that's directly driven by how close or how far apart your feet or hands are when you're using oscillating movement. So oscillating is, in my experience, not only the most functional movement, it's got the most short-term gains. So better balance, better lymph, better circulation, because you've got the ability to manipulate amplitude on the fly. What does that mean, Debbie? Amplitude with upper body. I'm going to give you a really cheesy demo here. If we put our hands really, really wide on the plate, they're moving the most. Think like a teeter-totter. If you bring your hands closer to the center, they're barely moving at all. And in the fashion that I'm sitting on the floor where I'm not putting really any body weight into the equation, this is what I would call a therapeutic application. This is just getting some very slight movement into the upper extremities. And if you're not putting a lot of body weight into it, like a push-up, you probably can tolerate it with your hands wide. It's when we start manipulating how much body weight we're putting into the equation that the hand position becomes ever important. So if you're not doing upper body exercises now on the ground and you want to incorporate them onto your vibration plate, remember, a vibration plate is simply a tool. It can be fitness, it can be feel good. It really depends on how you apply yourself and the positions that you're doing on the machine. So if you're not doing push-ups on your toes right now, I wouldn't start by doing push-ups on your toes on a vibration plate because it's going to make them more difficult while adding this whole layer of destabilization to your body. So we're going to start today with a very simple warm-up. I see a big question, perhaps. Hello, Paulette. I have sclerosis in my spine. I've been using dumbbells while on my vibration plate. Do you have an opinion? Paulette, if you could just hold off questions to the end and try and keep them related to today's session. There's lots of ways that you can improve osteoporosis. And if the upper body is part of the equation or the spine, there's certain areas that you may be trying to target. Weight-bearing activity is how we improve our bone density. It's not a setting. It's not an exercise. How long you can stand doing an exercise, how intense the exercise is going to vary based on you personally. Paulette, I will get back to that question, but allow me to leave that until the end of the session. Or if you're just looking for something specific and you don't want to hear me talk about upper body, search osteoporosis in the search field in the group, and I've done at least 5 or 6 sessions specifically to osteoporosis. Or check spine. I've also done a number of sessions specific to spine. So very briefly, back to upper body. For the warm-up, I want us not putting a whole lot of body weight into the equation. So we're going to position ourselves on our knees in front of the plate. If you're working on a hard surface floor and you've got bum knees, you may want to put a carpet or a yoga mat down for cushion. I want you starting with your hands no more than shoulder width apart, not as wide as your plate is, but line your hands up with your shoulders. So you're probably at about the mid hand placement. I want you to experiment, just like in my standing exercises, with a mid to faster speed. The really slow speeds are very choppy, very wobbly. If you're just starting upper body, you're dealing with, I don't know, arthritic elbows or hands or frozen shoulder. A lot of the times we avoid upper body positions is because we've got issues there or we just don't want to. So the trick with upper body, especially if you are deficient, is normally when we're doing a push-up on the ground, we're looking directly at our hands. And if our head is right above our hands, you're going to get the most head shake. What I want you to do is unbend at the hips and push your body just slightly forward till the shoulders are over the hands. And you're going to feel, just by playing with the angle of your body, the vibration is going to change from the head primarily. And as you extend forward and position your weight more directly with the hands under the shoulders, you're going to feel it in the shoulders and the neck and the upper back, which is the topic of today's session, arms and shoulders. So just as a warm-up, we're not putting a whole lot of body weight into this. I just want to get some lymph going. I just want to get some circulation. I want to relax these muscle groups. If you find yourself getting stiff throughout the course of the day in the neck and the shoulders, as many of my ladies do, this is where we carry our stress, our purse, our bra. Do some little shoulder rolls or maybe some neck rolls. All we're using the plate for at this point is as a stimulus. This is just therapeutic. We're just adding some stimulation, some extra lymph, some extra blood flow. So if, whatever kind of feels good, I want you guys to experiment and just get some additional movement. Maybe we're doing some cat-cows. Whatever feels good instead of just sitting here, okay? If you do have arthritic joints, the elbows and the wrists don't always work for you, I would just hold a static position. You do not need to move up and down, especially if you're dealing with joint issues. Just hold a nice, relaxed position. A question I get a lot before I get into exercises is, Debbie, can I put my forearms on the plate? And usually instead of a yes or no question, It's a depends. Why do you want to put your forearms on the plate? Most commonly, it's because I want to do a plank. So please remember the lesson. Wide is more. I don't want to hear answers like, oh, that's just the way that I do it. Well, you know what? If you want to like over exercise the neck and the shoulders and resist and shake the head all over the place, you go right ahead. Most women I work with do not have the upper body strength to do a plank properly, let alone incorporating it into a surface that makes it more challenging. I do like to put my forearms on the plate for a therapeutic standpoint. So if you want to get a little bit more direct into the shoulders, you don't mind the head shake so much. Again, same lesson applies. I want you working with a mid to higher speed range. But put the elbows. So the elbows are the driver of the movement. If the elbows are wide, you're going to be moving lots. If the elbows are closer, you're not going to be moving as much. And because there's no elbow, this is going a little bit more direct into the joint. Again, make sure that the elbows are above the shoulder, or just directly under the shoulders on this one. Try with your elbows as close as you can to the center. And it's just going to be a little bit more direct movement into the shoulders. Maybe you're doing some arches. So we're going to arch up and relax. Try pinching the shoulder blades together. Just get some movement. I really enjoy doing this from a therapeutic standpoint. Sometimes if I want to add a little bit more body weight, I might come up onto my toes for a minute or two. But you'll notice the minute you add more body weight, if you want to do something more traditional like a plank, it's very challenging on the shoulders and the neck to hold a good position, and it's very hard to do it with the elbows close together. So if you're struggling doing that type of an exercise on the floor, there's better ways to work the core, and I'll be working on that next week. But if you like to do planks or you want to do planks, you know, this is a plank too. It's just called a full push-up. You're getting a little bit more activity into the arms than the traditional plank. It's just a better way, gives you a little bit more absorption, but I'll get into that when we get more into exercises. So for a warm-up, you know, if weight loss overall is the goal, you may want to make sure that you've got some leg work, perhaps a couple of the moves I did from last week. But upper body toning specifically, there's two pieces to toning. So there's, you know, there's the fat, if there is any, or the loose skin, and then there's the muscles underneath, the definition. And some of the exercises I want to teach you how to do properly today, you're going to vary on the level of difficulty as opposed to where you can participate. But you've got to do some actual engaging of the muscles to get the definition, the tone that you want. It's not going to be a matter of just, you know, doing the therapeutic stuff and laying your arms all over it, which I'll show you at the end. That's not going to give you the definition if that's what you're seeking. So we are going to continue in oscillating movement. We are going with that mid-speed range. If you are doing upper body exercises now on your plate, you know, there's no harm to shaking the neck and the shoulders, but many of you, as I said, have deficiencies. You're maybe a little fearful because, you know, you're just not used to these type of exercises. I assure you there is no harm done, but you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it. You want to make sure that you're breathing. There's basic things to exercising. Forget the vibration plate, just to make sure that if the better your technique is, the less likely you're going to have over exercise issues. The less likely you might give yourself a headache, which is often related to not breathing properly, not so much the shaking of the machine. So the first exercise we're going to start with is a variation of where we just began. So we're going to line ourselves up with our shoulders over our hands. Our elbows are slightly bent, but the variation on this one is we're going to back our knees up a little bit, maybe depending on your height, 3 to 4 inches. We're going to push ourselves forward. This is what we call a girl style push-up. The elbows, the hands are under the shoulders, but by elongating my body, by making those knees further back, it forces not only the core to become part of the equation more so, but you can feel there's more body weight coming into those shoulders, the biceps, the triceps. So I would like you, if you are just starting out again, 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds on this. Just focus on holding a very good position, breathing. You know, you don't necessarily need to move up and down. You can hold on to those type of things until later on. I just want you learning to where do you feel this? Where is it that you're feeling in the arms and the shoulders? And the more you kind of play with the depth of your angles, the position of your body. You're going to feel it in different areas of your arms, and you can take very good control of where you're trying to target. This part, the bat wing, the back of the arms, probably the most common area on upper body for sure with my ladies that we want to target. But tricep dips aren't everybody's best friend. And if you're not doing tricep dips now, there's just more ways to do them wrong on the plate. Again, it speaks to technique. You should obtain some, work with a trainer, and see if that's even the best exercise for you. I personally, because I got a bad shoulder and sometimes bad elbows, I'm 50 plus, I prefer to modify my push-up. So how I do that is I'm putting my hands on the plate as I was before, but instead I'm just drawing my elbows in towards my ribs. So instead of being lined up like this, I'm drawing those elbows in towards the sides of my ribs, and you're going to feel, oh my goodness, it's all on the back of my arms now. So this is a really good way to target the triceps with minimizing the head and the neck vibration. And if you're finding this is the weakest muscle on most females' human bodies, push yourself away if you need a break. It's not about going longer and longer. Sometimes, if you're just starting out or you've got arthritic wrists or elbows that you're also trying to work with, it's, maybe it's lots of little reps, 3 or 4, 10 to 15 second reps versus just trying to stick it for 32 seconds to a minute. The goal with toning, just like with weight loss, is getting those muscle groups to a point of fatigue. If you're doing something like this and you can sit here all day, oh, Debbie, this is so easy, then make the next evolution. If you're doing tricep work now, you're doing these types of exercises, you're doing tricep dips, and you're up for more challenge, then present more challenge. You can certainly come to your toes and make this a much more challenging exercise. Again, do what you need to for your body type, your level of conditioning to get to fatigue. One variation I want to show you, because I always get this complaint when I do upper body videos, is my wrists. My wrists can't do that. They can't bend that way. I can't do it, Debbie. You've seen my pool noodle trick if you've watched any of my sessions on massage or knees or some of my medical videos. Take a pool noodle. I've been using a mat. Take a pool noodle, put it on the plate, and then just give something for the wrists to hang on to get you up a little bit higher without getting that extreme angle that you might need to if your hand was directly on the plate. So this is a good way to get started if wrists are an issue. Work with the wrists for about a week or two, and before long, you'll find it's going to be much easier to put your hands directly on the plate. Okay? So again, just a simple pool noodle. The wider one is the one that I'm working with, the width of your platform. You can also use things like push-up assists. There's all kinds of handles. If you've got those types of things that you're using on the floor now, try using them on your plate. You'd be surprised how many of the tools you might already be using can be incorporated. So this is just a good little tip if you do have wrist issues. Okay, so I kind of gave you a sneak peek before I meant to. So we had started this way. Okay, so this is basic push-up. We evolved to triceps, which is just a variation of a theme. For those of you that want more challenge, you're doing upper body exercises now, the progression would be to come to toes. Now, again, this progression, anytime you make the exercise harder, I suggest holding still. Don't add dynamic movement just yet. Make sure you're holding a good core. I don't want to see things like this. Don't necessarily want to see things like this. May as well work the abs at the same time. Hold. Make sure you're breathing. So critical. If you find that you're dying, but you're not done, you can modify a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to quit. Or maybe you want to do a couple reps. Again, with any of these exercises, 30 to 45 seconds on upper body, I would rather see, especially my ladies, doing, maybe a couple, 3 small reps versus one big, long duration. I find it just works better, especially if you are dealing with a few deficiencies here. Now, for those of you looking for a little bit more push, a little bit more cardio, I want to get a little bit of dynamic movement, but we're going to be doing what I call them walkouts. My favorite way, what we've done so far has been a little bit more direct on the arms, the forearms, but I want to get a little bit more specifically into the shoulders. My favorite way to do the shoulders is what I call a shoulder press, and it's a matter of getting your body, the bum in particular, higher than the level of your shoulders. And how we do that is we're going to, if you have to bend your knees due to flexibility, that's fine. Same lessons apply. This one is probably, of all the upper body moves, this is going to present the most head shake. So remember the lesson, make sure the head is past the hands and the shoulders are above the hands. But by getting your bum higher than the level of your shoulders, the weight's going to be directed down into the neck and the shoulders where we want it. Okay? So we're just going to shift our weight forward, hold. I don't want you holding till you can't push yourself away. Tilt back. Okay, try that again. I'm just pushing myself forward onto the balls of my feet, holding still, 2, 3, shift back. Okay, so we're going to do a little kind of upper body walkout here that's going to start us in a full push-up. We're going to walk into that shoulder press, and then we're going to walk out. Okay. So if you're able to do this one exercise in itself is the perfect add-on if you're already doing other exercises on the plate. Okay, so all a walk-up is we're going to start in our good position. Our hands are shoulder width apart. Shoulders are above the hands. And we're going to walk till we get into that shoulder press. 2, 3, and then we're going to walk back out. Hold. 2, 3, walk. Hold. 2, 3, walk. Hold. 2, 3. Again, the goal is I want you fatiguing 45 seconds to a minute. For those of you that are doing these exercises now, perhaps you're doing dynamic movement with the upper body. Perhaps you're doing some leg movement to target the core a little bit more. These are all just basic starting positions. There's a bazillion variations on a theme. So if you see something here that looks familiar, that you're comfortable doing now, try these types of exercises on the plate. It's going to bring you more benefit in less time. And for those of you, like I say, that are dealing perhaps with arthritic wrists, you avoid upper body because it hurts, there's always a way to work around. So again, try the pool noodle. Maybe you can't bear a lot of weight to start with. This is a great tool just to get started, where you can't have those angles in the wrists I mentioned. So the first one we started with was a very basic warm-up. Warm-up to me is, it's not a strenuous exercise. It's just getting things moving and flowing and loosened up. The next exercise, I'll wait for the machine to stop, that we progressed to was a basic starting girl style push-up. We want to key point. We want to make sure those shoulders are above the hands to minimize the head shake. Bat wings, we're going to draw those elbows in so they're just up against the sides. And you're going to feel just that change in the angle of your position is going to shift all that weight onto the triceps. So that's how you start working that. For those of you that got game and this is too easy, we would progress to more mass. Be that for triceps, regular push-up, whatever suits your purpose. For those of you looking for more cardio, the last exercise we did was starting this way, walking up into that shoulder press. We're going to hold, 2, 3, walk back. Would love to see you get to the 45-second to a minute mark, depending on you. Probably be a good 4 or 5 reps on that. If you're feeling fatigued prior to that, but you want to keep going, you can always take some of the body weight out of the equation. Okay? So before I get too huffing and puffing, keep it simple. Be consistent. If you're not doing upper body exercises right now, it's because you can't do them or you don't want to do them. So don't make them more complicated than they need to be. Start simple and take the intensity out of it. If for my ladies out there, a lot of times, where you put your feet or what you see as just a recommended guideline isn't always feasible. There's always modifications for you, the individual. Remember, you're always in control. And try it with a mid to higher speed setting to compensate for those closer hand or foot positions. I think you're going to find the movement itself smoother, less choppy, and more tolerable, especially if you are dealing with any chronic issues. So we're going to get to a little bit of massage right now. And even though with upper body, the massage, the warm up is very much a nice way to kind of get rid of neck tension and shoulder. This in itself is a massage. But I get a lot of questions about, Debbie, can I put my arms directly on the plate? Absolutely you can. There's a number of reasons you'd want to. Today our reason is about toning, but perhaps you're dealing with some chronic issues, some sensitivity concerns. Maybe you've had some surgery and there's nerve damage, or maybe you just want to try something else, and range of motion allows you to get down on the ground and try some of these things. So a couple of different massage tools. I'm going to bring my pool noodle back into the equation. Many of you that are dealing with carpal tunnel, perhaps you just have, common strains, be that work or sport. One of my favorite ways to massage upper body, especially the forearms, is with my noodle. And I'm just going to incorporate a little bit of rolling movement. Bring your plate up to a higher speed. I've got this in the 40 to 50 range is what I would recommend. I'm on a Rumblex that has 60. If you're working with a Waver or a Mini where you've got, upwards of 100 speeds, try coming up to the 60, 70 range. And what we're going to do with this one is we're going to start with the wrists on the machine, and we're going to target first the underside of the arms. Again, we're about hip width apart, and we're just going to roll into a little bit of a stretch. Roll this way. My bum's just sitting on the ground in case you haven't noticed. You can certainly remain on your knees, whatever feels comfortable for you. But this is a great way just to get some vibration into those areas directly. If you have a Rumblex model, I also enjoy this in pulsation. But I do everything in oscillating because it's just the best and it does the most, in my opinion and experience. You'll notice once you get closer to the elbows, there's more movement transferring up to those elbows. Okay? So that's the undersides. If the tension is more, depending on where your tension is, position your arm differently. So maybe we're going like this, or maybe we're going palms up. That one feels great. Okay? And come all the way back to the wrists. Okay? Just a variation. Okay? And you may want to try, there's a couple different sizes of pool noodles depending on your own sensitivities. Play with different sizes. I tend to use the larger size for 90% of what I'm doing. So the next one was that previous weak spot we talked about. Debbie, can I massage my bat wings on the machine? You know what? You're not going to ask for my permission anyways. I don't make up these questions. People have been asking me these questions for years. And in my experience, you're not asking permission. You're asking forgiveness. So, it's one of those things you'll have to try, but there are, in my opinion, better ways to go about it. So just like when you're sitting on the machine, you want to sit this way down the machine, not lengthways. It's not really the best way to work it. And how we would target the back of the arm is simply lying down on our back in front of the machine. You may want to put a mat on it depending on the type of surface you have. And just lay the back of the arm on it. If you start in the middle, you're not getting as much movement. If you want more movement, come slightly off center. Okay? Just hold that arm up at a 90 degree. If you feel like stretching the arm out, playing with the position of your wrist, you can roll the whole back of that arm on there. Again, a higher speed feels more comfortable on the massage where you're not doing a lot of weight bearing. You may like this in pulsation also, okay? That's one way to target it directly. You can also do the biceps. I have a lot of my guys actually that have, shoulder issues or bicep issues. You can also flip over, lay on your stomach, and lay this portion on the machine. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. You're laying down, chest down in front of the machine, You're going to take this arm. I've just got the bicep on at this point. If you want to try getting into the shoulder, you might want to use a little mat just to give yourself a little bit of cushion. But it's almost like you're just hugging it. Just hooking that shoulder in there and draping the arm. Oh, I hit the button, didn't I? I got to stop using this old Rumblex, but I just love it so much. Okay. And I've got the shoulder. You can stretch that out. Again, you can roll with the wrist to get into different areas. If you want to turn yourself slightly away and prop yourself up, you'll get a little bit more body weight into that shoulder. Just turn the neck. You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. So if you can get your body down, this is a vibration plate, but many of you use it for massage. It's just a matter of whether you can get that body part directly on the surface. So these direct massage positions will help, certainly with skin surface issues. They help with sensitivity issues. If you're working on weight loss and toning, of course, exercises that engage the muscle groups you're trying to target are the best way to gain the definition piece of it. But some of these massage positions, if range of motion allows, go a really, really long way in complement with the other positions that you're doing. Just some different ideas to help mix things up for you. And if you've been doing the same type of exercises for a really, really long time, or the same settings for a period of time, the body can get used to the routine. It can become stagnant and you kind of get into maintenance mode versus progression. So, pick a few good upper body exercises that you perform well. Technique is key. Consistently do the exercises. Put in the time. That's what's going to give you the results in the long run. And if you've got a good set of exercises you're comfortable doing, play with your settings from week to week. So just mix up the speed, or maybe you're doing a different pre-programmed setting, or maybe you're changing the hand positions. The suggestions I offer are simply a different approach. Very often contradicts what's in the manual, I know, but I do deal with a lot of chronic issues. So I'm always a big fan of going faster with less intensity, less amplitude, so the closer hands and feet. That's a basic starting point. Where you evolve from there is very much your own personal sensitivities, level of comfort, and kind of just, what your own preference may be. It doesn't have to be rocket science. But like I say, I find for those of you that are just not getting with it regularly, a lot of times we're just intimidating ourselves thinking we got to do all these big exercises that sometimes aren't necessarily required. A couple of good 3 upper body exercises is going to go just as far for you if you're doing them regularly than, this big complicated workout you might be doing once every other week kind of thing. Okay, so just going to come back to questions now. Paulette said, score osteoporosis of my spine. I have been using dumbbells while on my vibration plate. Do you have an opinion? I'm not sure what you mean as an opinion. I know nothing about you. I don't know physically if you're in a position to be doing those type of exercises on the machine. But I will say, by adding mass is a great way to increase bone density. You want to make sure, Paulette, bone density is a long-term goal. So you want to make sure that consistency is there, doing this regularly, whether it's exercise type stuff or whether you're just doing feel-good stuff. The best results I have seen with my clients looking to improve bone health is consistent, regular use. I can't tell you how many times I have seen it reverse from osteoporosis to osteopenia, and from osteopenia to, I have high bone density. So, but these are in my customers that are sticking with it regularly. That's really the biggest success. And weight bearing. So if you're standing and you're doing dumbbells, that's a great way to do it. If back to today's topic, if you're looking to tone and target certain muscle groups in the arms, the neck, and the shoulders, you may want to look up some specific exercises relative to doing those. If you're standing on the plate with dumbbells now, Paulette, I'm assuming the balance is on check, and some additional movements would probably be not only fun, but just progress you forward in those goals. So I hope that makes sense. Kelly says, what vibration are you using? I am using oscillating movement, and I always recommend a mid to higher speed range for some of the exercises I was working with today. There's 2 factors that you control. It's not just vibration. There's the movement type. So there's oscillating, there's lateral, pulsation on some models, and then there's lateral movement. Oscillating movement is the universal, it is the most natural feeling for most people, and it's the one movement that all of Life Pro's models offer. So all of my sessions are always in oscillating for that reason, but you've also, outside of the speeds, you've got much more amplitude that you can manipulate and play with depending on your sensitivities. So wide is more action, close is less. So you decide how that vibration feels, Vicky, depending on the combination of those two factors that you're playing with. If you're very frail, if you're coming from a place of recovery, you're very thin, I think you'll find a faster speed with a closer hand or foot placement is going to be more soothing, more energizing. And if you're looking at things like symptom management, using a plate regularly throughout the course of the day is not uncommon, but it's short little 2 to 3 minute sessions versus something more traditional where exercise, it's going to be a little bit more effort and probably more time on the duration side. So the vibration plate is just a tool. It can be used for therapeutic applications. It can be used for fitness applications. Where you choose to apply yourself and what you're physically able to do is kind of where all these nuances come into effect. So I really just want to empower you guys with how to control it based on how you're feeling. And if you are dealing with a chronic issue, sometimes you have good days and you have bad days. So some of the stuff I showed you today can be, therapeutic just as much as exercise. So if you're dealing with, sluggish lymph in the upper body, or you've got chronic pain and tension because you're leaning over a desk all the time, some of these upper body exercises are just a great way to relieve the day-to-day issues that you deal with while you're getting the exercise piece done. So I could go on about a vibration plate all day, but it's my job to get you guys motivated and down there to do these type of things. So keep it simple. Even if you're just working on one upper body exercise and you're mixing up those settings from week to week, it's going to give you the confidence to progress and experiment with more. Diane says, I have an injury from work in the upper back. I've had deep tissue massage and worked it. Will it, or do you think this type of exercise will help with some of the pain? Absolutely, it will help with the pain. It's also going to help if there's other exercises, Diane, that you're supposed to be doing. So if you've had an injury, often like your workers' comp or your PT or whatever that process is that you're going through, there's exercises and stretches you're supposed to be doing regularly as part of your recovery. But sometimes the physical therapy or the visits aren't covered enough until we keep having to do the work. So vibration plate is a great tool to do those exercises on. It's going to improve the effectiveness, and it's going to reduce the amount of time that you have to spend doing. The big trick, if you're dealing with a lot of pain, sometimes pain dissipates throughout the course of using the machine, and you can do other things. But again, high speed and bring those hands closer to the center to start. If you're not on the ground now doing exercises regularly, I would suggest sitting in a stool and just placing the elbows on the knees on the plate to just sort of get a feel for it. Maybe that's a bit of a warm up before you get down on the ground. It really depends on what else is presenting as far as symptoms. But yes, it's a great way to target those areas and get a lot of benefit in a very short period. And what you might find, Diane, is you might be doing that a couple, 3 times throughout the course of the day for a bit before you can progress to other things. So if you've been dealing the injury from work in the upper back, if this has been like a long time issue, it might take some time to get some relief. I warn you, you might notice an itchiness. And everybody today, I got to talk about the itchiness. Many of you aren't doing upper body exercises now. If you've ever used a vibration plate, one of the first symptoms, not for everyone, but for some people, is like pins and needles, like a tingly, that increase in circulation, lymphatic movement, detoxification. There's all kinds of things going on. It's not uncommon to feel a little bit of a sensitivity when you first start out, because we have less mass than our legs and the upper body. And yes, as women, we've been carrying bricks here for 40, 50 years, some of us. You'll feel that itch in many cases and go crazy. If it's too much, bring the hands closer and reduce time and intensity. But no, that's a newbie thing, not just new to using the plate, but sometimes it's new when you're doing new exercises that you haven't targeted directly using the machine. So just a forewarning, the itchiness or the tingly, if you're dealing with that and you've never heard, this is not a long-term thing. It does tend to dissipate within a week or two of regular use. So don't quit, don't stop. because you've had something you don't understand or a poor reaction. If you were taking medication or doing other things, you give it 30 days. So give this 30 days, but don't overdo it. It's very easy to go too long, too wide with the hands. You can always do more a little bit later. Just be cautious on your time. Keep those durations and the intensity short. And I promise you, it might be more pleasant of an experience than just starting out on your toes. Diane, I'm going to start plus now with getting a pool noodle. Sometimes it's like the cheapest thing at Dollarama that makes it a total game changer here. A ball is also good. It takes a little bit more roly-poly core work, but I love using a pool noodle in so many different ways. But it's a great tool if you've got wrist issues, with which a lot of my ladies do starting out. And it's something that will improve very quickly just by getting that circulation and lymph into those areas of the body. You'll notice the range and the tolerance on the wrists and the hands in general improve dramatically. So thanks for joining me today. I hope today simplified the equation, took a little bit of the scary out of it for some of you. If you're watching this on a recorded basis, as I said, please, please, please tag me at Debbie with a Y if you have questions. There's a sale. I don't know if it's going to end today or tomorrow, but it will be ending soon. 20% off with Life Pro, plus a free gift, plus 20% cash back with Life Pro on select items. So like potentially 40% off on certain things. So do take a look, lifeprofitness.com, of course. They're also on Amazon, but the sale is more directly with them and their site in the US. So take a look. Inventory is limited. So if there's something you've been looking at, you snooze, you lose. Don't be complaining to me tomorrow. It's been on sale for a long, long time. I do foresee that coming to a close. So 20% off right now with Life Pro, free gift, and 20% potentially cash back on select items. So do check that out. Thank you guys for joining me today. Don't work too hard. I will see you same time next week, Tuesday, 6 p.m. For segment 3, part 3, which is core and back. So I look forward to showing you that. And like I say, last week was part 1, where we did some lower body. Today was arms and shoulders. Join me next week. And the last section of the month is going to be a quick head to toe, total body, intense workout. So thank you for joining me today. As always, I appreciate your time, and I hope that you found some benefit out of today's session. I look forward to some feedback from you very soon. Have a great rest of your week.